sometimes where there's a film that you just unload.
Yeah,
on.
when you can do stuff. Yeah,
and,
you can unload on it.
And
yeah.
it just feels
exciting.
it feels massively cathartic. It's just like
Yeah. It's nice to get it out there.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that asks that question. Netflix versus cinema, which one is going to win this titanic battle? My name is Tosin and I am your host, set up in Coventry, somewhere up in the Midlands. And on the Isle of Wight, joining me are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Now, we have a bit of a quick fire episode today because we all have places to go. So this should be, we're going to try something that we haven't done for a while and try and keep this thing under an hour. Do you think we can do it?
Crikey.
Give it a shot.
We can try.
Give it a shot.
Actually, a garden that I normally takes us an hour and a half to cut. We did it in an hour and 5 today.
Wow.
It's just been so dry. Yeah. But it can be done. The impossible is possible.
Okay, so as those people who listen to this show would know, we usually kick off by saying, so Shaun, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
That's good. Sharon, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay, cool. Enough of that.
We're sorted. Yeah.
How are you, Tosin? We better ask you.
I'm fine. I'm good. Let's move on.
Good. Let's move on. Pass.
All right, so we started off last week doing this thing where we said also rans, where we talked about things that we had watched in the cinema or things that we'd watched this week, but we weren't going to put forward because every week we put forward 3 films we've seen in the cinema, 3 films we've seen on Netflix or other streaming services at home. And so we always talk about films that don't make the cut or things that we've watched so many of that couldn't make the cut. Do you guys have anything for our also rans this week?
I was going to ask, actually. I know I'm a little quick. I know we've got to be quick, but you know our exception to the rule. If you see a series, you must have seen all in that series.
Yes,
well, I've been watching one called Black Mirror.
This is a very good question. Each
episode is different, so it's not like a continuing. It's a standalone story. Each is a standalone, and I've watched 4 of them. But it's not the whole season, so I'm wondering if we could sort of somehow, maybe not tonight, but another night, we could stick a couple of bits where we just say, my Netflix contribution is this one from Black Mirror. So I don't know. What do you think, Tosin?
I think you're right, because when you actually said you're watching Black Mirror, I had exactly the same thought. I was like, okay, that kind of messes up our rules a bit because it's a TV series.
It's almost like an anthology series rather than a linear series.
I mean, it was a bit like Love, Death and Robots, which we reviewed. Yeah. You know, it would have been nice to spend a little bit more time on the episodes, I think, or just put. I'll
tell you what, Shaun. Which season of Black Mirror is this that you've been watching?
I've only just started watching it, so it's the first season.
First season, okay. We will do a Black Mirror special.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
are you going to watch it as well then? You should. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really good.
If it's on Netflix, I might try to find them.
Yeah, I've watched them all. I've seen them all. So yeah, we might do a Black.
You've seen all of them, have you?
Yeah, I've seen all of them. Yeah, I've seen all the Black. Apart from the first one with the pig, I refuse to watch that one. But I know what happens.
Well, I don't know. The first one I've watched was the Star Trek one.
Oh no, you jumped right into season 4.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. I better go back then.
Yeah, season 1. Season 1 it starts off with the Prime Minister.
Oh no, that's not the one then. The one I've seen it must be something else. It's the Star Trek one with the.
Yeah, that's season 4.
It puts all the people. Yeah. Oh right. Okay. Cool. I've watched the first 4 seasons all then, so I skipped that. I'll have to go back.
All right. Okay. Cool. Right, we're supposed to be going quickly. Anyway, so...
Yeah, well, let's go quickly. Yeah.
So
sorry, guys.
So,
no.
I don't have any also-rans. I'm mid-series on all of my programmes, so I'm midway through.
There was something I watched, which was The Night Eats the Day, which was a French film. I'm not sure. Did I review that a couple of weeks ago?
No, you didn't. You didn't review that, no.
No. Well, it's like another one of the zombie films. It's in that zombie genre. French film, and it's just pretty much a solo guy. He thinks he's the only one left. He's a bit of a musician, and everyone else outside in the world is, as far as he's concerned, is there's not really a lot to talk about.
It's
very much just one room, really, and loads of things going on outside. So knocking holes through walls, but not a lot of killing and stuff.
So Omega Man, I Am Legend kind of thing.
That's it. Yeah, basically, yeah. So,
but French.
I mean, I'd give it a 3-star, I suppose. Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a 3-star. So
okay, cool.
It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch, but it's not like Knockout.
It's not a must see.
So that's probably mine.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Sharon, you see that?
No, I've been watching series, but I'm midway through them all.
Right.
All right. Oh, I saw. Well, last week I mentioned Samurai Jack season 5 and Dead to Me, and I said I wanted to do them in depth. But I've decided that there's just too much stuff on Netflix, and I'm never going to get to actually do them in depth because I've just never because we're gonna keep watching stuff each week. I'm never going to do it. So I'm going to say Samurai Jack. Now, Shaun, I was recommending this to you, but it's all.
You was indeed, and I did like the look of it. I did like the look of it very much.
Yeah.
So I will try and catch up. Maybe we should do the odd specials or something when we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
We'll just do odd specials.
I would love to do a Samurai Jack special. Samurai Jack is awesome. It is awesome. And I said, season 5, it just sort of rounds because they ended up season 4 a couple of years ago, and it was kind of left open-ended. So they came back for season 5. Right. And because it's very stylized, and in the first 4 seasons, because it was on Cartoon Network, it's kind of like violent, like an old school Japanese movie violent. But because the only thing he ever cut were robots, so he'll cut a robot in half, and you see like all this oil gushing. But in season 5,
that's cool.
Yeah, but in season 5, they went on to Adult Swim, which means they didn't have to do. Yeah. So
I think we could do specials on that, Toast, couldn't we? Or we could have a little. We discuss that. Discuss that.
But I'll give that a 4 out of 5. Dead to Me is a series that showed up on Netflix, and it's about a woman who loses her husband, and at a bereavement support group, she meets this other woman, and as things go along, you start finding out this other woman becomes like her best friend, and this other woman might not be all she seems. Now, this is it was a show that I was like, okay, this actually has a lot of promise. It's quite funny in places. I quite like the characterization. But towards the end of the season, it does that horrible thing where I think it just starts trying to set things up for a second season instead of actually finishing off the story that it's telling. And the way it ends, I'm like, I don't think I'm coming back. Even though it has Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini, I'm not really interested in the second season. And that I'll give that I'll give that a 3 out of 5.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And just a report back on something you guys said I should watch, Aladdin.
Aladdin,
yes.
Yeah, I saw Aladdin and I loved it. It's a 4 out of 5.
Hey!
It's a 4 out of 5 for me because the original Aladdin was like my gateway into Disney movies. And I love that film. There were so many bits. I was singing along to all the songs. I had massive smiles on my face. I was just like, oh my God.
That's when I looked around. When I looked around at the audience, and they were much the same. So obviously,
they were well into it,
they were really, really into it. I would have liked the Tiger to have done a bit more, though.
Yeah.
I was slightly underwhelmed by the Tiger.
Well, to be honest,
that was the only thing for me.
It looked really good to start with at the beginning. You thought, oh, this is going to be, and
then it didn't look quite right.
What's his name? Raj or something?
Raja. Yeah. So, but Raja is very true to himself I think he's a little bit more threatening in the cartoon. Like there's bits where he jumps in Aladdin and all that, and when he's protecting Jasmine. But apart from that, that's pretty much what he does. I like the way they tweaked certain things in it, and to make it work for live action. Will Smith's genie was not as bad as I was fearing it was going to be, and and A Whole New World, when that came on, A Whole New World. I have to do a shout out to a friend of mine who's in the States, in North Carolina. I think she still lives in North Carolina. Jamie Arnold, Nee Peebles. And when I was in the States, we had this whole thing where we would perform A Whole New World, and I'll put her on a roller chair as the magic carpet. And I'll be pushing her around going, I can show you the world. Shine. So shout out to Jamie. I know you have kids now, so take them to go see Aladdin.
You have your own magic carpet moment.
Yes, you can have your magic carpet. And just remember me pushing you around on that chair in Severance. Anyway, so that's all the report backs and all the also rans done. And now we're going to launch straight into the films that we have seen this week. And we're going to kick off with cinema. And our first offering to the cinema table is going to be I believe the 12th movie in the...
You there?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
We've lost you a little bit. Oh, yeah, now, you went fuzzy.
Oh, sorry.
You keep coming in and out.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just me doing the very, very clever thing of putting my finger over the microphone.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so our first movie is the 12th movie in the Fox X-Men franchise, and this is Dark Phoenix. Now, Shaun, do you want to kick off with this?
Do you really want me to kick off with this?
I do want to, because
okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm quite happy to kick.
Sean, you kick off, and I'll come in and try and put some structure to it.
Yeah,
but I think we're going to agree. I think we're going to agree a lot on this. All right.
Oh, Tosin, this was one of the worst, boringest, awfulest films. It was even worse than Godzilla. It was even worse than Batman vs Superman. It was dire. It was, it was rubbish. It was total rubbishy film. Really annoying. The actors were
God.
just crap. And do you know what? I could spend a whole episode on this, right?
Yeah.
James McAvoy, right? Nothing like Professor X, right? You know the Professor X, like you must have seen the old
John Luke,
right? He is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
you think sometimes when people play a part, they sort of research it so that when they play a younger version,
there's a seamless transition. Yeah.
It seems a seamless transition, exactly. So, it's like the guy who was in Solo, you do it that, but there was nothing, and it's just like, that is not Professor X. That is not Professor X. But
he's been doing that role for 3 films now. He's been 3 or 4 films.
The thing on the stairs, right? Anyway, I won't even talk. Yeah. We won't even go there. I could go on. It's awful. It's like, what is going on? I was in that cinema, and I was actually
heckling the screen,
and there were loads of people in there, and they must have thought, "Who's that weird guy?" And I was going,
heckling.
Awful. That is no. What? I was like, jumping out of my seat, Sharon. Seriously, jumping out of my seat. It was blooming awful. It was terrible.
I have a confession to make.
I'm just going to say this thing. I think that the company, as this was the last X-Men film, I think they wanted to make it so horrible
they'd never ever come back.
Because now Marvel have got it. Now Marvel have got the franchise. That people who perhaps aren't invested in the Marvel thing will think, oh, that other X-Men film was so awful, I'm not going to bother to go and see it.
I've taken a cyanide pill and then drove the plane into the cliffs.
Okay, Sean, calm down. Sean, calm down.
Sorry,
okay.
Hang on. Let me count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
I sort of have a confession to make in that, X-Men, I'm sort of over it. So when they said Dark Phoenix, I was almost entirely indifferent to what it was going to be like. So I haven't actually seen it yet. And I probably won't see it.
No, Sharon, to be honest with you, being totally over X-Men is totally understandable, because the last film they did, Apocalypse, was terrible. That was dire. That was dire. The best thing I can say about this film is that it's better than that film. So it's.
I didn't think so. I have to disagree there. I thought Apocalypse was better than this one.
No. Apocalypse is a stodgy mess. It's a stodgy mess.
I remember being.
I totally agree. I didn't enjoy Apocalypse, but I didn't. This one was worse. This one was oh my god.
There's a couple of reasons why I would agree with you in being over the whole X-Men thing. Like, for instance, ever since they started this new version with the younger people. And they did X-Men First Class, which was Matthew Vaughn. And I actually really like X-Men First Class.
That was good. I think that was good.
But they have made some...
I like First Class,
Yeah, they've made some really baffling, stupid decisions with this film, because every single one of these films that they've made has jumped forward 10 years. So X-Men First Class is in the 60s, then Days of Future Past is in the 70s, then Apocalypse is in the 80s, and this one is in the 90s. So that is a span, if I haven't got my maths wrong, of 30 years.
Yeah.
And there's supposed to be 30 years have passed between all this, and everybody looks exactly the same. I'm like, how the heck?
As in the first film.
As the first film. I'm like, why do you keep doing this stupid jump of 10 years? It means that you don't get a chance to get to know any of the characters. And I think especially after what Marvel have done, this is coming in the wake of Endgame, and Marvel have shown you how they've built stuff so that even if they've gone to the point where one character gives another character a look, and you're like, oh my God, it's on. And they keep jumping around. They're trying to get you to care for characters. And when you say Batman versus Superman, Sean, there were times during this film where I was thinking Batman versus Superman, because there is nothing as bad as the Martha moment in the Batman versus Superman in this film.
Oh, but that's awful,
Yeah, there's nothing as bad as that. But there were just bits where I'm like, you're asking me to invest in stuff that you haven't given me enough to invest in. But having said that, I thought the film started very, very well. I think that the opening 20 minutes of this film, I was like, okay. But by the time they get to a first action scene, I'm like, oh my god, this makes no sense. And
Yeah,
I was pretty much, you know, like Shaun, what you were saying, I was doing a very good impression of you going, oh god. I was in the cinema. I don't do this often, but I was going, what? Why would you do that? I mean,
exactly.
You just spend the whole thing talking about how you've been trying to live peacefully with humans, and then you're just going to start throwing a bus around in the middle of New York. That doesn't make any sense.
It's mad, yeah. Exactly. And I mean, the thing is as well, it's consistency, right? Because that scene, that New York scene, there's one of the most powerful X-Men, and in that particular New York scene, right? That was a damp squib.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Damp squib. And then later on, in a later fight, it's like, well, why didn't you use all that in the first fight?
yeah, I know.
You know, you got all this power. Why the hell did you use that in the first fight?
Why were you holding it back for?
Shaun, I agree. I agree with you totally. It is inconsistent. It doesn't. You're like, and then they make the bad guys like really, really powerful. And then there's a bit in the film where they get to the point where you just go, oh, I see what they're gonna do. They're gonna say these guys are so powerful they can't be stopped, and they're gonna stop them in 1 second with just it's the motivations of the characters are stupid because there's characters in this film who are like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go kill that person. That person must die. And literally 5 minutes later, they're like, I will give my life to defend this person. This person must live.
That's it. Yeah.
5 minutes later.
Like, no, I agree, Tosin. You're there. You're with me on a film. You agree with me on it. It's just like it physically makes you want to go. What? Why? What? How did that suddenly happen? That 1 minute you were like the most angriest person on the earth, and then it's like, oh well, okay, you know.
I'm over that.
I'm done.
Yeah,
you know,
honestly. You're supposed to believe that somebody.
It's like the old,
You're supposed to believe that somebody goes from murderous rage to like in like 5 minutes. And I was just kind of like, you are messing this up royally.
Royally. I'll tell you one thing that was quite funny is, and I always laugh about this because it's been a lot now. There's Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
He always does that. I think it was like in the Snow, there's a film called The Snow and something like that. But
he does that.
There's a few other.
Teeth gripping, bitey, galley thing.
The jut in his teeth, you know, he's like, you know what I mean, and all their veins on his neck go all, and he does seem to do that in every.
He does a lot, because he can do it. They go, do that neck thing.
That's exactly Sharon. I was like that. I was saying, oh, he's going to do that net thing in a minute, and it's like, there it is. There it is.
I'll tell you, there's one scene. There's a scene that they have with a helicopter that I was just looking at going, this is bordering on the ridiculous here. But but the thing is, this is a film I gave no hope from the word go when they said Dark Phoenix, because when Sophie Turner turned up in Apocalypse as Jean Grey, I was like, she doesn't look like Jean Grey. I don't believe her. This isn't vibing. I'm not getting this. But having said that, I have to say I think she did well. In this film, I think she actually did well. I thought this film was going to be destroyed because of her, but she did really well. I think I liked all the performances. And the thing is, Shaun, because of James McAvoy, you always say that James McAvoy does a kind of thing which you tend to characterize as a
yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
But he did it. But in this film, I think he actually held back on it. There was a bit where I was watching the film, I was thinking, has this guy been reading Shaun's notes? He hasn't done it yet. So
he got close though, didn't he?
He got close. But it was really toned down. But the thing is, this film starts really well. I felt at the beginning I was like, oh my god, this might be going somewhere. But then it just gets to a point where you just start, and the script, like Jean Grey says something. She must say something in a variation of. When I feel it, I hurt people. She must say it like 12 times in the film. And I'm like, for goodness sake.
Well, that's it. You could say the dialogue. It was like dialogue. Oh, you know, I don't know. I feel so alone in that. That's all right. You're part of us. Oh, I don't know. It was awful. It was. Oh, dear me. I've just looked. Tosin. I've just been looking. I mean, I don't normally do that. I never generally look at other people's reviews, but I'm looking at some reviews now. I just put in Dark Phoenix review, and I see on Rotten Tomatoes it's got 23%.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, and there's one character who you can see is just waiting for her contract to be over. Just like,
please release me.
Release me, yeah.
Pretty much. And the thing is, having said all that, I mean, I think it's the kind of film that I get more annoyed about it when I'm thinking about it after I watched it. but I would give it a 3 out of 5 because I think that there's some good stuff. There's some good performances. I like what they said. I like the way they treat Professor X, like how they talk about his ego and all that kind of stuff. But
you like Professor X, did you?
Oh, I like the way they treat him. I agree with your thing that there doesn't seem to be much connection between this version of Professor X and Patrick Stewart's version of Professor X, or this version of Magneto and Ian McKellen's version of Magneto. I agree with you that is. But if those didn't exist, this was good. But it's so I would give it a 3. Sean, 1.
Okay. Well, for me, I disagree with you that on Professor X. Hated Professor X. The fact I hated a lot of them, really, to be fair. I don't think there was one
well,
decent
that is character. Fair. If you hate them all equally. Quite fair.
All equally. I hate them all equally. They even had people like Cable in it and stuff. And
they had Cable?
Was it Cable? No, it was the guy with like the whip
with the hair. No, that wasn't Cable. I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. I thought he was something because I know he was in the. I know he was in one of the Days of Future Past one or something.
Oh, okay.
Well, that might have been different. Anyway, I'm not invested in it, so I really hated it. I think that, as I say, Fox just wanted to kill off the X-Men franchise. So because now Marvel have got the rights, they just
and they were like saying, okay, you're all free to go after this.
I think after this film, people are going to be begging for Marvel to give the X-Men a bit of their magic. Because
total reboot.
I think they should put it to bed for 10 years.
Well, there was a couple of good X-Men films. There has been a couple. X2.
There's at least 4 good X-Men films.
Yeah. But these later ones, Tosin, they must have poured shed loads of money at
Apocalypse,
this film, and it's just awful. Yeah, I know that was awful.
Apocalypse, it just went,
yeah.
I mean,
so I know what you mean. I didn't even really the big fight scene was moments, but I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for us that I can't give this more than a 2, Tosin. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Yeah,
tried to think of things, but there's no redeeming features for me.
So it's time to call time on.
It's time to call
Dark
time on
Phoenix.
Yes, just get
and X-Men.
Okay, that's because we can go on for an hour about what's wrong with this film. But we're gonna go over to Netflix, and I think even during this podcast we're probably gonna come back and be like, right, and this and another thing. But anyway, we're gonna go. Okay, Shaun and I are gonna stop being grumpy old men for a second.
We are. We're gonna go into something else.
We're gonna go into something else. We're gonna go into the world of Netflix and see if it can provide us any succor. And so, Sharon, please take the lead on Ali's Wedding and save all our listeners from having to listen to us complain about X-Men.
Okay, Ali's Wedding is quite an unusual little film. It's not one I think we would put, or any of us would go, oh, we'll watch that one, because was we were offered, we were asked if we could review it, didn't we? So we all watched it, and I'm glad we did. I found it was quite a charming little film. Basically, it's about an Iraqi student whose family fled Saddam Hussein in Iraq, ended up in Iran for a while, and then ended up fleeing there and ended up in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a sort of culture clash, rom-com, biopic story.
It is really. I mean, because
at the beginning it says, this is a true story, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean...
a bit of a comedy in there as well. There's humour in it, and pathos as well, because you see that these people are sort of they're out of their own environment. They're trying to hold on to what they cherish.
Yeah.
And in most of these families, they're Muslim families, so it's their faith they cherish. They've cherished their belonging together. But they're also in this strange environment that is completely different. So these people who landed in Australia as teens, they're being raised in traditional ways in a completely modern culture.
Well, the guy's in his garage, his friend's in the garage. Which, do you know what I mean? There's one he says, well, I'm speaking Australian. I always think, it's like...
he swears every other word, doesn't he? I'm just speaking Australian.
I mean, people say, if Australian, they talk English. See, I think every country's got their own even if the same thing. It's like, it reminds me of the thing in Fury where he goes, hey, if you want to talk Mexican, well, the Mexicans talk Spanish, but he calls it Mexican, and in this it's like, I talk Australian, and I guess Tosin, you would speak Nigerian, it's like, and so
there's certain rhythms in speech.
I like those characters. I did like those characters as mates, in the garage.
Yeah.
And it also was quite sympathetic as well because
it was
a bit of an insight into how.
Yeah, I'd never seen how a mosque works before.
No, and
so it's a real insight.
There's it's not much different from us really, and there's no difference, is there really, between like the things they do and the things they like, and there's some that are more traditionalist than others, and some that sort of rebel a bit. And
so we see it the whole film through Ali's eyes, who's our main character. Yeah. And he basically is growing up in this. His father's a Muslim cleric. He's the head of the mosque, and there's a lot of expectation on him to do well. And they want him to become a doctor because that's what happens. If you've got a bright son, you want your eldest son to be a doctor. Yeah. And he has to sit the exam, and then after that, things don't go quite as he planned.
Yeah.
But there's a great scene where they talk about one of the guys who's a member of the community who's saying to me, hey, you've just got to get married. When you get married, you'll be fine. You'll be a doctor, get married, you'll be sorted. And they say, well, we've invited you to this tea drinking ceremony.
I was going to say, yeah.
And they have to... and there's this moment where they're saying, look, what do I do? And he said, just wing it, you'll be fine. He says, but I could end up married. And after, and there's one of the guys says, he doesn't know quite what to do, how much sugar to put in, when to stir, what hand to drink it from, and all this sort of stuff. And he's obviously trying to sort of judge by what's going on around him. How is he doing in this sort of tea ceremony? And then they say, congratulations, you're engaged. It was a bit unconventional with the tea thing, but you made it.
He's trying desperately not to end up married,
not to get engaged. Yes.
I think what's nice in this as well is the characters in it. You can actually relate to the characters in all their different things, because you get like the ones that are a little bit, I don't know if the word's jealous or whatever, or do you know what I mean?
Yes.
All the characters that could be applied in a Western, in an English or American, or could definitely be applied. You think, oh yeah, I recognise that sort of character. I know people like that. I know, the favourite son who's like, oh yeah, and the bright one, and then there's the dim one, and then there's there's the daughter. That's right.
Yeah.
But there were some charming moments in it, and and I did find the fact that his dad is a cleric and he puts on musicals in the mosque.
Yeah, I know. That's
the life of Saddam Hussein.
That's quite funny.
Or the trial of Saddam Hussein as a musical.
Yeah, I like the who's the guy that really is like that sees his dad first of all. There's like the chap who's with the.
Yes.
I forget what one it is. You know what I mean? But he's like, oh yeah, thank you so much, because he goes and sees and says, oh, I'm better not good. That one.
Yes.
People like that he's just like enamoured. And
it's just
the old boy
because I think the character. Okay, Shaun, you go ahead.
Saeed.
Saeed, yeah. And then there's and who else was there?
Okay,
and the old. Yeah, with the old boy, with the...
I said, I divorced you to my wife. I said, and now I'm divorced, it's ruined my life.
There's some great characters, yeah.
No, the thing is, I think...
said I divorced you 3 times.
I have to say, I am really, really thankful that somebody brought this film to our attention.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this film, I think, Sharon, you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head. It was absolutely charming. It was absolutely
charming film.
I think this film charmed the pants off me. I was just kind of like, oh my god, this is so good. I think this film has got one of the strongest supporting casts I have ever seen. In that every single person, even if they have 5 minutes of screen time, they have something to do. The characters sparkle. I love the fact that it's it's something that you haven't. It's a Muslim rom-com. Quite frankly, that's what it is. It's a Muslim romantic comedy.
Who knew they existed?
Yeah, I know. And I was reading. Because obviously it says that it's a true story. So I was trying to do some research to find out how true it was. And the guy who plays Ali, apparently it's his life story, and he says, yeah, this has never been done before, a Muslim rom-com. And I just think all the different characters, the way it shows, when you're talking about his group of friends, and how his group of friends almost kind of represents this sort of melting pot mix they have in Australia, because the film is set in Melbourne, and how one of them is of Southeast Asian origin. They have the token They have the token white guy, and then they have
that's right, with the skateboard or whatever.
Yeah, and even between the Muslim world, you have the sort of tribalism or almost racism. It's like, oh, where they're from? Oh, they're from Lebanon. Yeah. They're from Lebanon. They can't cook.
They're Lebanese.
And I love the fact that it sort of almost arrived fully formed, took you into this world, and there was a lot of it that I identified with because there's a lot of stuff in that culture that I recognize from my childhood growing up in Nigeria, and I was just kind of like, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. Every single character sparkles. I would give this film 4 out of 5. I mean, it's kind of like the perfect. I think this is the perfect date movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it would be good on a date. I did find for
yeah.
me. I mean, the first half. I enjoyed the first half up until the tea party much more than I did the. Sort of,
yeah,
so, it was still alright, but
yeah,
when it sort of unravels a bit. But up to that point, I thought, I was really, really enjoying it. I was really, really enjoying it. And then I thought the second half sort of got a bit, not quite as engaging, shall we say?
Yeah.
Really.
Well, the second half goes a little bit more like typical rom-com. But still with a weird twist that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, it did. But I love the characters. I do love the characters. I think they're great. I think like you nailed it, Tosin, when you said all the characters are very much and I could relate to them. I could recognise those people. I think, I know someone like that. So it's really good like that. And I thought I like ends when they have the actual photos of the real
person. There was a very funny one at the end, wasn't it, Zena, that he became an actor and he fulfilled his ambition to play a terrorist on screen.
That was but because I didn't enjoy the second half as much as the first half, I'll probably give this one a 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, and I think there's a lot to say for this film, so I would agree with Tosin and give this a 4.
Yeah. And it's funny. I just remember the bit where they try and go to America. And the scene happens to be hilarious and horrific at the same time.
Yeah. But you can imagine
every time he opens his mouth, it's just like, don't say anything else. Just don't say anything else.
That's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing that happens.
It does happen.
If you get pulled over, you can imagine that happening.
Everything you say.
And that is the trouble with today's society. By one thing, you could say one thing in a joke or anything, and it could be interpreted in a totally different way. And
okay.
But no, it's a good movie, good solid movie, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would recommend this to anybody. I'll say, find it, go on Netflix, a Netflix original, Ali's Wedding, watch it. You will not be disappointed. I absolutely love that film. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, it's a great film.
And now we jump back to cinema and we talk about Ma. Shaun, go.
We have about Ma,
We have 32 minutes to talk about 4 films.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna. Well, you know me. I don't go too much into the stories or whatever. That sounded like a big alarm. So, this story basically it's about this girl and her mum. They moved back to the town where they originally came from. They'd been away in San Diego. Obviously, there'd been a breakup in the relationship, whatever. And she makes friends with a couple of other teenagers, and they want to try and buy some booze. So they go out in the thing, and they ask some people and that. And eventually, this lady buys them some booze, and she says, "Look, I don't want you going out. I'd like you to come. You can come to my place." And she's got like a basement with music and all playing. I mean, she has big parties there, not just with a few of them, but with all of them. And obviously, this has got. Do you know what? I was really pleased. I didn't really know about that, but it's got Juliette Lewis in. Now, Juliette Lewis is one of my favourite actors.
Oh, yeah?
I can't call them that anymore. Yeah, I really, really like Juliette. And she played the mum of this.
You don't see her very often now, do you?
But she's. I mean, I liked her in Whip It. I think in most things that I've seen, she convinces me. She's good at convincing in the role she plays. But anyway, obviously, because and she is like a mum. She sort of wants to give her a bit of freedom and all that. But anyway, cut a long story short, you get a little bit of history because back in high school days, back in her mum's high school days, obviously Ma, the woman who plays Ma, you see her as a younger, and something traumatic sort of happens to her. So she's obviously got a few issues with things, and obviously some of these teenagers are children of some of the people she went to school with, Ma went to school with. So that's obviously she gets a little bit more psychotic as things go on, and obviously the father of one of the guys, he's like a security, and he goes, "I've been tracking, and I know what." And she had a real thing for this one guy, and he goes in, he's all nice. He says, "Oh yeah, let's go for a drink and all that." And she's like, "Yeah." And when he gets to a drink, he goes, "I don't want you, seeing my son. I got trackers. I know what's going on." And then so it goes all a bit crazy then after.
Okay.
So yeah, and
so this Ma, she's a complete nut job, I take it.
Well,
she is. Yeah, she's not totally, not to start with. I don't think.
She's not.
She probably is. It is there, but it's just ready for a switch.
I'll tell you what, Shaun. Thing is, from the trailer of this film, got serious sort of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. Like, you know how Freddy Krueger comes back to like terrorize the children of the people who burned him and all that kind of stuff. And you got and also got like some sort of Carrie vibes as well, because obviously the fact that Ma is a black character and like, you know, seems for the trailer seems to make it look like she essentially gets her way into these people's lives and then starts terrorizing all these white kids, and it's because of something their parents did.
It's something like that, but not quite. I wouldn't say it was exactly that story, because originally she just wants some company. She's feeling a bit sad, but because of things that happen, gradually she gets a bit more crazy, you know. And then when a certain thing happens, obviously it switches on something horrible. But what I quite like about it is she you know, well, like when with some of the things, because she actually works at a vet, so she's got access to, you know, drugs and things, which because I mean that's always a thing, you know, like you know, tranks and things. So, and I guess it's going back to a bit of the I don't know, like the 80s horror thing. I know you say like Nightmare on Elm Street, that type of thing. Yeah. There's a few. There's one squirmy moment in it, which I would say it's not particularly a violent squirmy bit, but it's a squirmy bit. But yeah, so basically that's the story. So it starts off, this lady has parties at her house, and then one of the teenage fathers comes and says, you know, and then you get a few flashbacks to stuff that happened in high school, and obviously, the thing that puts a switch on. So,
all right, cool. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Shaun, now what we really want to know is, what did you think of it?
Okay, I didn't really know what. I mean, I didn't hate it. Let's put it this way. It wasn't, and I thought I would. I didn't hate this. I didn't think it was awful.
Coming from someone that's selling stuff as a horror movie, that's big for you.
That is, yeah. Well, I mean, there's been
because you have quite high standards for horror.
I do really. Well, it's not. I wouldn't call it a horror film.
Okay.
I would not call this a horror film. I would call it more of a thriller. Thriller. I'd call it more of a thriller, I guess, more than. So there's a few bits. I mean, the Blumhouse films. It's really, really weird because most of the ones they make are awful. Yeah. But they did make a couple. I mean, I like Black Klansman. I think that was Blumhouse. That was really good.
Get Out was Blumhouse.
Get Out was Blumhouse, yeah. And Us wasn't, was it?
Us was Blumhouse as well, yeah.
Was, yeah. Well, see, so there are some good ones. I would put this one as just a normal sort of film. I mean, it'd have to be a 3-star, I guess, because I didn't hate it, and there wasn't anything.
There's things in its favour.
Yeah, it had things in its favour. It wasn't too ridiculous. I was expecting it to be, you know, really sort of super cliched and stuff, and. So yeah, I mean, I'll give this a 3 to be not a strong 3 this one, but a 3 nevertheless.
All right, cool. What was Octavia Spencer like? Because she usually doesn't play this sort of character.
No, she's normally cuddly mum, isn't she, or the best friend?
Yeah,
in her words, she was quite sassy black friend.
Yeah, sassy black friend. Yeah, she was. I think she played the part well. You know, there was moments
moments of tension.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously. Like I say, with the stuff that happened, and the guy she had a sort of real thing with comes in and it's really nice to start with and says, "Oh, let's go on a date" and all that, and then so she's on the date. So that's like the Carrie thing, I guess. Yeah. And then he turns around and says some stuff, and that's the switch that makes her think right. You know?
I'm not putting up with this anymore.
That's that type of thing. So yeah, so I'll give it a 3 to be fair.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Shaun, and moving swiftly on. Because we have to. Sharon, we now go back to the world of not Netflix but Amazon Prime, and you saw
yes, it's.
I think this week we've kind of like reverted into our stereotypes. So Shaun went to go see a film that we thought was a horror movie. I went to see a film that was like a kids movie with animation, and you went to go see a film that is part of the burgeoning new thing of Christian movies.
Yes. It wasn't, well, I didn't actually choose this film this week. I go to a ladies' fellowship in my church, and once a month we go out together. Yep. Most of the time we just go for meals, but because we weren't sure what the weather was going to do, we went for a walk. Then we said, well, go for a walk and then we'll go back and watch a film. And this was one of our ladies chose this film for us to watch because it's a Christian film.
Yeah.
And basically, I Can Only Imagine is the name of
a very famous song.
Yes. And apparently it's when it was first released as a single, it was one of the very few Christian songs that actually made the mainstream pop charts.
Yeah.
And it sold millions of copies in America. And we actually had to look because I sort of knew the song, but it's not one that we sing in my church. But we looked it up in the hymn book and it's there.
Yeah.
It's in our hymn book.
It's one of those songs that it's good when the band play it, but when you try and sing it as a hymn, it's kind of like stumbles along a bit and isn't quite good. But it's an awesome song. I have to admit.
Yes, it's a great. Yes.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that I don't think you can join in with very well. It just turns into karaoke. It's as a worship song.
Karaoke, yeah.
Yes, but I think if someone performs it, it's one of those ones that really moves.
Does it need like an orchestra and all the whistles and bells and things?
Well, you need someone with a killer voice, basically, who can do it justice.
Yeah.
And can emote when they sing. But yeah, I can only imagine. It's basically the song. This is a song, as we've said, a hugely popular Christian song that was written by this guy called Bart Millard, I think his name is. I can't see it. Can we scroll down? Yeah,
Strong American name.
Controller. Yes, Bart. Here we go. Oh, this says Bart on here. Bart Millard, I think his name is. Basically, it starts off with how he came to be inspired to write this song, because he says at the end of the film, I wrote this song in 10 minutes. And they said, this is not a 10-minute experience. This is you're expressing a lifetime's worth of experiences here. And it goes back over his childhood, how he had a very abusive childhood. His dad was violent and aggressive to him and his mother. His mother left when he was very young, leaving him on his own with his violent and aggressive father. He tried to become a football star to please his dad, who was, again, like a high school football player himself. But he had a nasty accident and broke both his legs. And then because he had to fill up the gap in his studies, and the only class that had availability was the Glee Club, which is basically like a choir.
Yeah.
And he had to join as a football player with 2 broken legs. He had to be wheeled in to the choir room. And then they basically discovered that he actually's got an amazing voice. And they cast him as Curly in Oklahoma as a school play.
Oh, yeah.
And he basically convinced everyone that he had such a good voice that he should be singing professionally. And so he decides that he is going to become a professional singer, and he joins a band, and you see how the struggle of how the band gets on the road, how they try to sort of make it, and everyone says, no, you just don't have what it takes to make it in Nashville. You don't have what it takes to make it on the Christian circuit. So,
oh wow,
your best sort of, give it a rest, boys. And then his father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And in his illness, he basically gets converted to Christianity himself, his father.
Yep.
And undergoes basically this sort of paradigm shift in his whole lifestyle. From being this horrible, abusive man, he develops a really loving, close relationship with his son. And his son learns to forgive him. And when his father dies, he basically assesses all that he's been through with his dad. And he sits down and writes this song. And he sends it to a very famous Christian singer, Amy Grant, who I've heard of, but outside of the Christian circles, I don't think many people know it. And she said, "This is an amazing song. I will definitely sing it for my next single." And then she's playing it, and they send the copy out they're going to send it out to all the radio stations to say, that this is going to be Amy Grant's next single. And then she says, "Actually, this is not my song. I'm going to give it back to you. You should be singing your own song."
Yeah.
And so she gives it back to him. He sings it, and it becomes basically this phenomena.
Yeah.
So that's the whole story, basically.
So
the story of how this song came to be written.
So last week we were talking about Rocket Man. Is this pretty much Rocket Man without the drugs and booze?
Yes, it's Rocket Man, a Christian Rocket Man. It is. It's the same sort of principle. You see how someone goes from point A, their childhood, to point B, which is normally their crisis point, and then point C is where they come out the other side. And his point C was when he sat and wrote this song, and it then took. And the band he formed was called Mercy Me.
Yeah.
In America, hugely popular. They've had 21 albums. They've sold millions. They've played for presidents and they've played concerts. They're just like a huge thing.
Yeah,
we've never heard of them in this country.
Well, I heard of them. Yeah. I heard of them, but only because of this song.
Yeah.
I tried to listen to some of the other stuff. Wasn't that overawed by the other stuff. But I can only imagine that's like a sit in a room, close your eyes, and maybe have a little bit of a cry. kind of song.
Yes, there's a lot of power in that song.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, Dennis Quaid plays the abusive dad, and I didn't know anyone else in it at all, to be honest with you. No one else registered on my radar at all. So I would say it's a niche film. I mean, I don't think it's for everyone, because I think where it is sort of definitely coming from that Christian background, I think you have to have some sympathy for it, I think, to get it. But it is an underdog story. You know, you do root for him because he's an unlikely hero. He's slightly chubby. He's sort of a bit disaffected, and he's a bit of a, not an oddball, but he's not your classic hero. So you do root for him in an underdog sort of way. So, but yes, I think I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film, but it's quite niche, I think, in its audience. So I would give it a 3. And say, if you know the song, you probably get more out of the film than if you didn't.
I don't actually know the song, to be fair. I probably do if I may have heard it.
You might have heard it. It did sort of cross over. It's one of the few crossover songs that went from.
I'll check it out.
Sure,
I'll listen to that. I'll put that on afterwards. Yeah.
It's the kind of song that you would hear. Imagine you're driving down an American highway. Imagine one of your trips to America. You're driving down an American highway. You put it onto this random radio station, and it's like some nice middle of the road, easy listening.
This is WKB CXOC.
Exactly. That was, I can only imagine, where Mercy Me and
we're just gonna play. Yeah.
And Mercy Me are going to be playing at the old townhouse tonight, and that kind of
it's
a
song. Little number.
Yeah. It's a kind of song you want to have it. You want to drive in a convertible car down. It's not quite your rock. Free falling kind of thing, but it's, I think, give the song a listen. I can definitely recommend the song, even though I haven't seen the film.
Okay, I will. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, so I think it's not a bad film. It's worth a watch, but be prepared that it's not going to be an action thriller. It is what it is. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay. All right, cool. So you said 3 out of 5 for that.
3 out of 5 for that one.
3 out of 5 from that one. That might be. No, it can't be. Wondering whether that's the first ever Christian biopic, but I'm not sure. Nah, there's got to be another one somewhere. Someone's going to have made an Airy Grant movie. So
yeah, there are thousands in the American Christian genre. It's a huge market.
It's massive.
All right.
There's so many.
Okay, and now we go back to cinema and say, oh, guys, we might actually do this. We got 18 minutes. 18 minutes for 2 films. Kind of like this. So we can
do this, people.
We can do this, people. Come on. All right. We go back to cinema and we talk about Pokemon Detective Pikachu. This one has been out a while now. I think it's probably on its way out of cinemas at the moment, and it's something that I've been meaning to watch, but I haven't actually seen it. So you might. I mean, Shaun, your daughter must have hit the Pokemon thing. You must have.
Believe it or not, I'm surprised I haven't seen this because I was into the Pokemon thing. Well, I wasn't. I mean, I was into the Pokemon thing basically because I worked at the school. It was one of those mad crazes. So
yes,
obviously I used to, I used to do a breakfast club, and that's what they'd be playing was this, and so obviously
we saw the cards come out every day.
The cards, and I even watched a couple of the cartoons, so I even know some. Believe it or not, I even know them. Like Machamp and Charizard and
Charizard.
You know anything other than
Squirtle.
Pikachu?
Yeah, and little shiny cards, which were like when they
collected
them. Yep. I remember a little saying, I got a shiny. And I'm like, what's a shiny? And they're like, oh, a special one.
I remember buying packs upon packs upon packs of cards for my nephew.
Yeah.
And going into the comic shop and saying, okay. They knew him. I was saying, okay, what hasn't he got?
But I always liked. I think they were called Team Rocket, the bad guys.
Yeah.
They had
Team
that
Rocket,
little cat thing
go!
called Meowth. Yeah, that's it. Team Rocket. Yeah, but they had that little cat thing, the mouth. They used to go
meow,
and stuff like that. Yeah, I know. I quite liked him because I always thought Pikachu was a bit too nice, really. So, but I'm surprised I haven't seen this movie. So does it? I mean, just can I ask you? Do all those characters sort of appear in it? I mean, do you get all the other Pokemon, or is this sort of not really?
You get it's like, okay, it's not an adaptation of the cartoon to begin with. It's like in the cartoon you have the whole thing with the balls, and you have to throw the balls to catch a Pokemon and all that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The idea behind this is that there's a city that has been formed where the Pokemon roam free, so the Pokemon live side by side with humans, so nobody catches.
Is it like Who Framed Roger Rabbit in that regard?
A bit like that, yeah. To be honest with you, it's a bit Who Framed. Actually, it is very much Who. Okay, you've just blown this thing wide open. This thing is an adaptation of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh my God, it is. It has all the same story beats as Who Framed Roger. Oh, good Lord. I don't think it's that good anymore now. Yeah, but but essentially it's about this city where the Pokemon and the humans live side by side. And the main character of the film, played by Justice Smith, his dad lives in this city as a detective, and he gets told something that, okay, your dad's dead. So he goes to the city to find out, like, clear up after his dad, and he finds out that his dad's Pokemon partner, which is a Pikachu, is in his dad's apartment. And for some reason, usually Pokemon can only ever say their own name. So Squirtle walks around going, Squirtle, Squirtle. Charizard goes, Charizard. Pikachu, all he ever says is Pika, 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 Pika. And that's what everybody hears when they hear him talk. They just hear him go Pika, Pika, Pika. But this Pokemon shows up, and he has Ryan Reynolds' voice. So he can understand everything this Pokemon is saying. And he thinks he's going mad, and the guy's like, "Oh my god, you can understand me! This is great!" And it's kind of like, imagine Ryan Reynolds doing Deadpool for children.
Right.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so the way he just sort of like comments on absolutely everything and all that kind of stuff, and there's even a bit, there's a meta moment that I absolutely loved, in which Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu is singing the original Pokemon theme tune from the cartoon. The Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all. And there's a bit where he's singing it. So, but one of the things, because the original Pokemon cartoon was one of the few cartoons that modern cartoons that I would watch and go, this actually it feels like when I was watching G.I. Joe as a kid, or I was watching Dungeons and Dragons as just a good kids cartoon that flows and is unabashedly kid friendly and all that kind of stuff. And I loved it. I love the cartoon.
Cool.
And I had the same feeling when I was watching this film. It goes really, really well. Having Ryan Reynolds voice Pokemon it works weird. It works very well, weirdly enough. And the creature design in all of the Pokemon is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. The Pokemon are just so cute. Somebody even makes a joke about it in the film. They go, "Yeah, they're like, I want to be a real journalist, but they just have me keep writing articles like lists saying, oh, the top 11 cutest Pokemon." She's like, "Newsflash, they're all cute." and so
it's a Team Rocket in this, Toes.
no Team Rocket.
They don't turn up.
No Team Rocket, no Ash, nothing like that. So because it's like a totally different world from anything you've seen in any of the other cartoons before. So there's no Team Rocket, there's no Pokeballs, there's no because in this city it's supposed to be like a utopia, and Pokemon battles are outlawed, all that kind of stuff. And it has a couple of surprises where I was watching it going, "Oh, wait a second, oh, I didn't know he was in this. Yeah, oh, he's in this. Oh well, then he's probably the bad guy." So especially now that Sharon's just said that it's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I'm looking at it going, yeah, that is what it is. So now anybody who's watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, there's nothing that this film has to surprise you, especially the answer to why he can understand this Pokemon, why this Pokemon can understand him and nobody else can understand it, and all kind of stuff. I didn't think it was it's not quite consistent, but quite frankly, it's a kids movie. It's trying to have a lot of fun. It does that successfully. So even though it's not consistent, it kind of gets away with it. But so Pokemon Detective Pikachu, because it gave me the smiles and I walked the cinema leaving, I will give it a 4. Especially if you have a young child with you, or if you were into Pokemon when you were a kid, go watch it.
Well, as I've said before, my brother and my nephew went to see this film, and guess what?
They enjoyed it.
They liked it.
Yeah. I've heard good reports. I've heard good reports on it. So
I did ask my nephew face to face. I said, "Oh, you went to see Detective Pikachu. What did you think?" He went, "I liked it."
There you
that's
go.
it. That's his review. Yeah,
that's it. So that's a good review.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. I mean, there are bits.
I have heard good things. I think it must have done pretty well. I think it's probably done quite well. I would think.
Yeah.
I don't
still be around.
Yeah, I mean,
must be still getting people in.
Yeah, it's
a couple of weeks old now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no Avengers Endgame, but then again, it's no X-Men Dark Phoenix. So
can't say fairer than that.
So it's I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that it's still in cinemas. I'm still seeing it. Is Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Oh.
Yeah, Can You Ever? It's showing at my local
really?
at my local cinema. But yeah,
when that was last year, I saw that, or earlier this year. Where did I see that?
It was early. It was early this year. It was in the run-up to Oscars, but it's in cinemas. I'm like, why is this in cinemas? It's on at 10 o'clock in the morning. I think it might be a golden oldies thing or something like that. But
yeah, they're sort of dragging them out for the old age pensioners.
Okay, and now we're gonna finish off with another Netflix original. And I'm the only one who's seen this, I think. It's called
Always Be My Maybe.
It's called Always Be My Maybe. Now, those of you who are Mariah Carey fans will realize that title is a pun on Always Be My Baby. And this is, you know how we spoke about having a Muslim rom-com, and Netflix seem to be focusing on going, okay, there's a whole bunch of areas of people who have not been represented or have not been serviced, so we're going to invest in making those sort of films like Ali's Wedding. And this is another one of those sort of films because this is a Southeast Asian rom-com. I know that Crazy Rich Asians got there first. This has a smaller budget, but it stars Ali Wong, who is she's a comedian, and I love this woman. She is flat out hilarious. If you
is it Toast? Yeah. Just to come in there. So what country is it then? So you said it's sort of east. From the east, yeah. So is it like Indian or?
Oh no, it's American.
Oh, it's American film.
Yeah, it's American film, but the characters in it are Southeast Asian. So like
they're ethnically, are they ethnic Chinese or ethnic Korean or something?
Koreans.
She is at least part Chinese. He is Korean.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of culture.
That sort of culture, yeah.
It's set in San Francisco, so Shaun, I know you like that.
Melting pot.
Yeah, it's set in San Francisco, but I was saying it stars Ali Wong. I mean, she wrote it and stars in it, and she's hilarious. She has 2 Netflix specials called Baby Cobra and Hard Knock Wife. And Shaun, the stand-up specials, watch them. She is hilarious. She is straight up hilarious.
So much you could watch, isn't it?
Really? There is so much you could watch.
I see that Keanu Reeves appeared in this as himself.
Oh no, they shouldn't put that on there. That's a total spoiler. Keanu Reeves is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
erase that remark.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is in the film, and he plays such a weird character. It is so. He is hilarious. He's in the film for about 10 minutes. And I think a lot of the stuff that people have been talking about the film is just about how weird he is in the film. And how much he shows up in the film looking like John Wick. He looks like he's just come straight off the set of John Wick into this film. And he walks around he is funny, he is weird, he's all that kind of stuff. But the main story about it is about 2 people. They're called, the guy's called Marcus and the girl's called Sasha. And they've grown up beside each other while they were kids, and they were best friends all the way through their lives and all that sort of stuff. Something happens, they grow apart. She becomes this world famous chef who opens restaurants and everything like that. Think Jamie Oliver. She becomes like that, for bringing Asian food to the mainstream and all that kind of stuff. He stays in San Francisco, and he doesn't want to go anywhere. She comes back home to open up a restaurant, and then they reconnect and then so much rom-com stuff happens. But one of the things that I like about it is a bit like, when you talk about Ali's Wedding, how it gives you a twist on the rom-com that you haven't seen before. And with this, it's really sort of jumping into the sort of the sort of Asian culture and stereotypes, so those who happen to be true and all that kind of stuff. But it ends up being quite a modern, different story. Like, the fact is, he works with his dad, and he and his dad go to her house to fit something. And his dad is like, "Oh, Sasha, haven't seen you in ages. Oh, you're doing really, really well." And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kim." And he's like, "How much money do you have?" And she's like, and Marcus is like, "No, he's serious." And she's like, "Oh." And it's actually really funny. It's one of these films where even the supporting characters, I think, are really, really good. They're really funny. His dad is hilarious. Her best friend is actually quite good. And even though I watched it with my wife, and even though I think the script is quite good, some of the lines are killer, and it works really, really well as a whole film together. I would give this, for a rom-com, I would give it, I'm gonna go 4 out of 5. It's not as nailed on the 4.
There's been some high scores this week.
Yes.
Some high recommendations.
Yeah, I think
you had a good viewing week.
I did. I did have a good viewing week. I did have a good viewing because I think this film, it's probably a bit generic, but there's enough zip in the script and in the performances and in Ali Wong and Randall Park just the performances, and he has like a band called Hello Peril, and some of the songs he sings are hilarious. There's enough in there for me to just push it into that 4 out of 5 star territory for me. So that is it.
Cool.
So all that is left to say is who has won this week. And
wow,
and
I reckon it's yeah.
What are you gonna say, Shaun? You reckon?
Well, I from the sound of it, I reckon Netflix has caned it this week. They've absolutely, I should imagine, wiped the floor.
Okay.
I think.
All right. We
should find out.
Yes. Sharon, any guesses?
I would probably agree. I think Netflix took it this week.
All right.
I think
by a margin of 0.
What?
Oh,
that's surprising.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see this. This is. I think it's 0.34. By a margin of 0.34, the winner this week is Netflix.
Oh,
yeah. Can you guess which film led?
I thought it would be more convincing than that. To be fair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, can you imagine? Can you guess which film led the cinema side down? I'll give you a guess. I mean,
guess. I mean, that's a tough one. I just got to think. What could
do I have to go through my alphabet to get there?
You might have to help me, Sharon.
Is it an alphabet mem something?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
So,
because
that one, the horrid one.
The alphabet spaghetti.
Yeah. I think it was round 1 that was the decider, because round 2, Ma versus I Can Only Imagine, dead even, 3 stars each. Round 4, Pokemon versus Always Be My Maybe, dead even, 4 stars each. And it was round 1, Dark Phoenix, an amalgamated score between Shaun and I of 2.5, and Ali's Wedding, an amalgamated score between the 3 of us of 3.6.
Wow, that took it.
So that's the difference.
That is the difference. Those are the small margins we're playing with on this show. But now we've done it, people. We've finished. It is not 7 o'clock. We have 3 minutes to play with, and all that is left to say is thank you all for listening to this crazy, hard, fast, madcap rush to the finish line.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We will see you next week. That's it. We'll see you next week. So goodbye from me.
We'll see you next week. Yeah, let's.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
Bye.
See you later.